Nation, let's talk about Joey Porter Jr. As we know, last year he was undoubtedly our best defensive back in a sea of defensive backs that had no idea what the hell they were doing, and it was torturous to watch any of them do anything because all it allowed was touchdowns.
Just a lot of bad plays overall by the secondary.
Oh, God.
We're talking Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace, James Pierre here and there.
Dude,
and they're all gone.
I got flashbacks of 2015 and 16 and 17. Oh, God, it was rough. Thankfully, we had JPJ.
Thank you, Chicago.
and his rookie season, too.
Just got to get out there, sorry.
No, seriously. I mean, Ryan Poles is just... I think he's trying to build us a fucking fantasy team. I swear to God. He's trying to build a legacy team. Hopes and dreams. But Joey Porter Jr., man, in his rookie season... was a most definite highlight. He was one of our best defensive players. He was easily our best defensive back. And I would say, man, he was our best rookie of the entire draft class last year.
Yeah, so much so that he was actually in the voting for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
He obviously didn't win it, but just the fact that his name is in that category is a pretty big freaking deal.
Especially at the defensive back position. Seeing what he did last year and compared to everyone else was, honestly, it was great to see. To see him lock down a lot of targets, to allow minimal yardage, minimal receptions. And if I stand corrected here, 0 touchdowns. 0 touchdowns all last season in his rookie season. And
That week count. He's credited with giving up 1 against Travis Etienne in Jacksonville, but if you remember that play, KZ didn't exactly have the proper range from where he was, but they still counted JPJ for it. I just got to throw it out there because I know someone in the comments is going to be like, oh, he gave up 1 touchdown. It wasn't JPJ's fault. That wasn't, okay?
Well, regardless, JPJ, I mean, still had a great rookie season, and he's got to come off this into year 2 with a lot on his plate. We all know our schedule is tough. We know the second half is pretty much an impossible task. But he's now the cornerback 1, right? That's undoubted. He's the cornerback 1. We have Dante Jackson opposite of him.
Yep.
But he is going to have a massive test this year when you look at our schedule, man. Week 1 versus the Falcons, he's got Drake London. Week 2, he's got Cortland Sutton. Week 3 versus the Chargers. Ladd McConkey, I think, is their number 1.
Well, that's who they drafted. I can't name you anybody else.
Quentin Johnson, they drafted last year. The Colts, they have Michael Pittman. The Cowboys, Week 5, CeeDee Lamb. He's coming off a historic season.
Yeah.
Week 6 versus the Raiders, Devontae Adams, probably still one of the best wide receivers in the league.
No doubt.
Week 7, if A-Rod stays healthy, you got Garrett Wilson. Week 8 versus the Giants, he's got rookie Malik Nabers. You got the bye, then you got the Commanders of Week 10. You got Terry McLaurin. You got the Ravens, Zay Flowers, and whoever else they got throwing the football, which, I mean, I think JPJ has already showed the Ravens. I mean, Cerro Miedo, no fear. Akuna Matata, I ain't worried about you, bro. You don't scare me. I don't think he fears the Ravens, but still. He's got the Browns and Bengals. We know Amari Cooper, Jamar Chase, Jerry Jeudy, right? What's his name? Tee Higgins. So he has a plethora
names at wide receiver. Some of the best in the league.
It's insane.
Some of the top names out there for sure.
Let's not forget the Eagles, bro.
A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Like he's got a lot on his plate. He really do.
He's coming into a massive season. He's coming into a very important year in year 2 where a lot of eyes are now going to be on him because last year, for some reason, Terrell Austin didn't start him until, Week 8?
Week 8 against Jacksonville. And earlier in the season, he had very, very minimal playing time, very minimal snaps. And we saw early on exactly what our secondary was about if JPJ was not in. If you guys remember Brandon Ayuk, Week 1, he had 129 yards with Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace as our starting outside guys. It was bad.
Yeah.
Week 3, Devontae Adams, 172 yards Sunday night. I mean, Devontae Adams was torching our secondary. Though, that was the first glimpse of JPJ getting involved in the secondary. When JPJ was in coverage against Devontae, he was targeted 3 times but only allowed 1 catch for 12 yards. So out of the 172 yards Adams had, JPJ only allowed 12 of those, and that was off 1 catch.
Yeah.
So that was an early glimpse into JPJ in his rookie year. That was just week 3. The next week, JPJ rarely saw the field. We rarely saw JPJ against Houston. Nico Collins had 168 receiving yards. That was bad. Week 5, he finally got more action. He got the interception off Lamar Jackson in coverage on
Odell Beckham Jr.
And saved
in the
us
end
that
zone.
freaking game. He saved us that game. Let's be real.
Yeah, after Gunner fumbled the punt, yeah, he literally gave us another chance to come back and win that game, bro. All because of JPJ and his interception in the end zone.
And then week 7, because week 6 was our bye last season. Week 7, we had the Rams. Puka Nacua was a star wide receiver, being a 5th-round pick and an ultimate unknown. Had a fantastic early start and ultimate rookie
I mean,
year.
yeah, my goodness.
And week 7, I mean, Puka Nacua had 154 yards against the Steelers secondary.
But against Puka Nacua, on 4 targets, he only allowed 1 catch for 22 yards.
Yeah.
He was the only guy that could slow down Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
The only guy.
Nobody else could but JPJ.
Out of everyone that we had to offer, or anyone that Puka had to go up against, JPJ seemed like the only one that could slow him down.
Yeah, and after showing more than enough to Steelers Nation, the Steelers coaches, and Terrell Austin, he was finally named a starter week 8 against Jacksonville. And from that point on, from week 8 all the way to the end of the regular season, week 18, in 11 games, the Steelers secondary only allowed 2 100-yard receivers for the rest of the way.
Wow.
Only 2.
Wow. Unbelievable, man. And one of them being against Tee Higgins in that one game that Mason started the first game Mason started, week 16.
Yeah, the majority of those yards I remember was an 80-yard long touchdown. It was garbage time, and JPJ wasn't even in coverage on that one.
No.
He didn't allow that.
No. But, I mean, continuing on, bro, after that, like you said, 2 100-yard receiving games allowed by the entire Steelers secondary. That is the impact that he had altogether.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But to continue on his stats, man, against Calvin Ridley in week 8, his first career start, he allowed 2 catches for 20 yards off of 4 targets. Ridley would finish the game with 83 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Versus versus DeAndre Hopkins in week 9. Remember how JPJ said that he wanted to follow D-Hop throughout the entire game, which was different from what the Steelers coaching staff does, where they pretty much keep their DBs on their sides.
Mm-hmm.
They never move around their corners to follow said wide receiver.
No,
they never move. Like, for example, they never moved Joe Hayden around so he could follow the wide receiver 1. Never did that. In this game, Joey Porter followed DeAndre Hopkins.
And that's because JPJ told the coaches, I want 10. That's the matchup I wanted. That's the matchup I need. He told him straight up, move me around, let me lock down Hopkins, and that's what he did.
And according to Next Gen Stats, he lined up against D-Hop on 26 of 36 routes and aligned in press coverage on 20 of those routes, and he limited D-Hop to only 1 catch for 17 yards on 5 targets.
Lockdown. Thursday night, I remember that game. Lockdown.
Versus Jamar Chase in week 12, our first matchup versus the Bengals. He allowed 2 catches for 36 yards on 2 targets. It's all he allowed to Jamar Chase.
I remember Jamar Chase, I think he finished that game with 81 yards overall.
Yeah. And remember how we said Tee Higgins had that big, long touchdown in garbage time? Well, he lined up again because Tee Higgins had to start that game.
Yeah, Chase was out. Chase was out.
Right, he was the one. According to Next Gen Stats, in Week 16, he shadowed Higgins on 32 of 40 routes, limiting him to only 1 reception for 15 yards. So he went up against both number 1s for the Bengals last season and allowed a combined total of 3 catches for 51 yards. Wow. And he's going to have to do that twice a year. Unbelievable. And, of course, the game where he allowed the most yards was against DK Metcalf in Week 17, where he allowed 3 catches for 86 yards off of 6 targets. Yeah. DK was the only wide receiver to gain more than 40 yards or more against JPJ last year. The only wide receiver. But out of one bad game, out of all the mishaps, all the yards that the Steelers defensive backs have allowed, all the bad games, all the games that JPJ played and started last year, he only had 1 bad game versus DK. That's it. Unbelievable. Now, yes, there are going to be more eyes on him in year 2. There's going to be film to study. There's going to be more for JPJ to improve on. There's going to be more where teams can go up against JPJ and scheme against him to get to get bigger plays on the Steelers secondary.
Of course.
So there is a lot more eyes on JPJ. There's a lot more attention. There's a lot more where teams can scheme against. And there's more where JPJ is going to have to step up. You know, I view this, you know how Sauce Gardner had that incredible rookie season? I view this as JPJ's second year, similar to what Sauce Gardner had, where there's going to be a lot more eyes on him. You know, everyone knows about JPJ and what he can do. Everyone's seen his impact. Everyone has seen his potential. Now there's going to be everything, all the cameras are on JPJ and see what he can do, because he is being talked around as where he could be one of the top cornerbacks in the entire NFL. So, yes, there's going to be intense watch. Everything's going to be under the microscope with JPJ. So he's going to have a little more pressure on him now that he is officially the cornerback one. He has all of these names that we just stated at the beginning that he's going to have to go up against.
Yeah.
Especially in that second half of the season. JPJ's in for a massive year. But I don't think he has any fear. I don't think he's going in there with much pressure on his shoulders. He's not feeling any pressure because, one, he's shown he can go up against the best. He can only improve, and he's a Porter.
Yeah, he's a Porter.
Come on.
And JPJ said late May, that he is the best cornerback in the NFL. That's just Porter being a Porter. He's going to talk that smack. He's going to talk the talk. But a Porter walks the walk. They back it up.
Yes, they do.
When they're on that football field, they back it up.
And it might be him being overconfident. It might be him being cocky in some eyes. But when he says that, I see him looking at goals he wants to accomplish. And seeing what he did last year, yes. I mean, he was statistically probably one of the best corners last year. And the time he played and what he did. You know, I think he has elite potential. I think he can be one of the top corners in the NFL. I think in years going forward, he could be a top 5 corner.
He can definitely get there. He definitely has the potential. He definitely has the playing ability. He's a guy that's not going to get a lot of turnovers. He didn't do that in Penn State. He didn't do it last year for the Steelers. He very well could. That could be a part of his game that he wants to improve. He wants to work on getting more turnovers for the secondary. But as long as he's a guy that's going to lock down a wide receiver, and opposing offense is number one, if he's going to lock down their number one wide receiver, that's all I ask for.
Well, I think that's going to be a big reason why he doesn't show a lot on the stat sheet, where he doesn't get a lot of turnovers, where he doesn't have many interceptions. He only had one last year, right? He only had one out of all his years at Penn State. I think a big reason for that is because quarterbacks won't throw his direction because he's so good at locking down who he's locking down, who he's going up against. He's so strong in press coverage. He has great instincts and ball skills. He has great awareness. He knows how to read the quarterback's eyes. He knows how to follow a wide receiver. He's sticky in coverage. I swear to God, man, every single play I saw with JPJ last year, even the yards, even the catches that he allowed, he was sticky in coverage. He was always around the receiver, or always around the football. Compared to a Pat Pete or a Levi Wallace or whoever else we had, a Shannon Sullivan and whatnot, they were yards away from the receiver, bro. It was social distancing out there. With JPJ, he's sticky. He's never far away from his target, from his receiver. He is strong and sticky in coverage, bro. So that's one of the great things about him, is where he's rarely out of place. He is always around the ball. He's always around who he's going up against, man. I think that's what's going to be so strong about his game and our secondary, where I think quarterbacks will just refuse to throw to him because he can lock down guys. Yeah. He has true lockdown potential. Like you said, he won't be one of those guys that gets 5, 6, 7 interceptions or even less than that, right? He won't have a lot. But I think he can be similar to an Ike Taylor with better hands, but like Ike Taylor, where Ike Taylor was locked down, man. He wasn't thrown too often because he just knew how to lock down these receivers.
Yeah, if a cornerback of that type of play style has the impact for quarterbacks to look over at their number one, but then kind of double think, like, man, I don't know if I want to throw over to my number one because
he's not open.
Like
there's no cushion.
If you have that impact alone, kind of like with Minka when he's up at free safety, when he's up there, and quarterbacks are like, I don't want to throw over there because Minka's over there, he might intercept me. If you have that impact where the quarterback's double thinking if he should throw over there or not, then you have something in you.
Yes.
You have something you have that dog in you, pretty much.
That's why we say he's so sticky, because he's just always around the wide receiver, dude. He's always against the guy. It's just that's how he plays football. That's how good of a corner he is, man. That's the lockdown elite potential he portrays, man. I think that's going to be crucial for our secondary, because we haven't had that in a long time, man. We haven't had that. I don't ask for the turnovers, bro, because we got Minka to do that. We got the linebacking core to do that. We have the pass rush to create the turnovers, bro. And with a lockdown corner, that's going to allow the pass rush to eat. But JPJ, yeah, he has that potential. But this is where he's going to have to really improve, man. That's where he's going to have to remain consistent. That's where he's going to have to step his game up. Because he's got a tough task this year. He's got a little pressure on him. He may not be feeling it, but there is pressure there.
Now, the microscope is definitely going to be on him, and a lot of people are going to be keeping an eye out for him.
Yes.
And his rookie year was stellar. It was great, though it wasn't perfect. You know, he had some problems with the tackling.
Not only that, but penalties.
Yes, the tackling and the penalties is something that were very evident in his game, that were mistakes that he was still dealing with, though later in the season he definitely worked on it. Going up against the best of the best in the NFL, some of the top guys, that is something that he really needs to make sure that he does not happen.
But as we saw throughout the season, that is where he grew. Now, coming in year 2, he's got a whole offseason knowing he's the cornerback one. He's the pure starter. And he has an incredible support system. He has Coach T. He has Minka. He has Terrell Austin. He has his dad. I mean, he's going to be just fine. So there is no fear on our end that he won't improve. I think he will. But he is going to have another standout season, because in year 2, there's a lot more pressure on your shoulders. There's a lot more weight there. There's a lot more on your plate, as a matter of fact, because now this is where everything happens, you know? This is where it all gets serious. This is where you got to step up, you got to remain consistent, and you got to show that you can be one of the best. And I think JPJ can. I'm excited to see what he can do in year 2, and I'm really hoping he steps his game up, because God, do we need a lockdown guy? And seeing what he did in year 1, yeah, I think he really has that potential.
Yeah, JPJ, just go out there, show what you can do, and just show the entire NFL that you're a pissed off football player.
Yes, because he should have been a first-round pick.
Any other year he would have been.
Yeah. Any other year, absolutely, because that cornerback class was stacked when he was selected. But because of the pick we got for Chicago, thanks again, you know, with the 33rd pick, or the 32nd pick, we got JPJ at the first day of day 2.
And the cards fell in our favor.
Yeah, it did.
And you can't write it any better.
No, man. So JPJ, continuing the Porter legacy, creating his own in year 2. It's going to be a bigger season. It's going to be a more important season, but we think he can step up. We think he can continue on what he did in year 1, in his rookie year. JPJ, let's get to work, and let's be one of the best, man. That's what we're trying to be. We're trying to be one of the best. We're trying to be the best. We're trying to achieve greatness. Here we go, Steelers, man.
As always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!